All right, so get this. We're going to dive into a story that sounds like, honestly, something straight out of a movie. Visions. We're talking cosmic battles, good versus evil, and this woman who faced some seriously intense challenges to bring a message to the world. It's a wild ride, and it all centers around this woman, Ellen G. White, and what's known as her, get this, great controversy vision.
It's actually really interesting how this event way back in 1858 still has so much power for people today.
It's true, and I think that's why we're so excited to jump into this deep dive. We've got a pretty awesome stack of sources to help us unravel this whole mystery. We've got some videos from the Adventist archives, some stuff from the White Estate, and even the sections from a book called Writing the Great Controversy, Initial Steps and Satan's Opposition.
That's right.
So, okay, can you kind of paint the picture for us? What was going on in Ellen G. White's life right when this vision happened? Set the scene.
Okay, so picture this, right? It's March 1858. And Ellen White, along with her husband James, are traveling through Ohio. And they're holding these meetings with groups of people who believed in keeping the Sabbath.
Okay, so this is like before the Seventh-day Adventist Church was an official thing.
Yeah, it was kind of like the early days laying the groundwork for this whole faith community.
Right, new beginnings.
Yeah.
And then, boom, a vision just drops into the middle of it all. Talk about a plot twist.
And not just any vision. This one came at a really, I don't know, I guess poignant is the word, but a really heavy moment. They were in Lovett's Grove, Ohio, when, get this, a baby from one of these families suddenly died.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can't even imagine. That must have just cast this huge shadow of grief over the entire community.
You can imagine a small, tight-knit group like that.
So was this vision connected to this tragedy at all?
The timing is definitely, let's just say, striking.
Yeah.
So after the funeral service, which they held on Sunday, March 14th, as Ellen White was offering comfort to the family, to the grieving family, she just suddenly falls into this vision.
Hold on. So she's like right in the middle of comforting this grieving family, and then, bam, a vision. Talk about a dramatic change of gears.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah. So what do the sources actually say about what she experienced during this vision?
They describe it as this incredibly vivid, almost like a panoramic view, but of something they call the Great Controversy.
Okay, the Great Controversy.
It's right, and it's this epic struggle, this cosmic battle between good and evil that's been playing out throughout all of history. So we're talking Christ versus Satan, with all of humanity caught in the middle.
Whoa, okay, so we're not talking about like some small-scale conflict here. This is like the ultimate showdown. She's witnessing this whole cosmic battle unfolding right before her eyes.
Right.
What was the impact on her? I mean, seeing something like that has to, I don't know, change you.
According to the sources, she was specifically instructed to write down everything she saw.
Yeah.
Every detail.
Oh, wow. Okay, so imagine that, right? It's like you're handed the script to the biggest, most important story ever, and you're told, all right, get this all down on paper.
Talk about pressure.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So, okay, they wrap things up in Ohio, they pack their bags, and they head home ready to, turn this vision into a book, right?
Yeah, not so fast. There's a twist coming. And this is where things get a little, well, I guess eerie is the word. So as they're traveling home, Ellen starts sharing these details of the vision with James.
Okay, yeah.
And it's like something or someone was listening in, something malevolent, and it did not like what it was hearing.
A malevolent force.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing full-on thriller movie now. Like, are we talking about a human enemy here or something a bit more supernatural?
I think if you're following the sources, it's definitely leaning towards the supernatural. And I mean, think about it. This vision, it dealt with the ultimate cosmic battle, good versus evil. So it makes sense that the forces of darkness, let's say, would be paying pretty close attention.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So this malevolent force, did it try to stop them? Did anything happen?
Well, yeah. The story takes a pretty dark turn. While they're in Jackson, Michigan, all of a sudden, Ellen suffers a stroke.
A stroke?
And she's only 31 years old at this point.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And she ends up partially paralyzed. And she's terrified that she might die before she ever sees her children again.
Oh, that's awful. It just makes you wonder, was it just a random medical event? Or could there be something more to it, considering everything else that's going on?
Well, the timing is definitely suspicious, especially given what Ellen would later reveal about what caused it. But I think we should probably dive into that more in the next part of our deep dive.
All right, yeah, let's take a break and come back to that. So we left off with Ellen G. White in a pretty scary place, right? I mean, a stroke, partial paralysis, thinking she might not even see her kids again, and all this after she just had this massive world-changing vision.
It's really incredible, though, when you think about it, that she didn't just give up. Despite being in that condition, she actually started working on what would end up becoming the first edition of her book, The Great Controversy.
Wow, okay. I mean, but how? How did she even write in that state? Partial paralysis, that can't be easy for, like, holding a pen, let alone writing a whole book.
Yeah, so the sources describe it as this super intense process. Basically, she could only manage to write like a single page at a time. And then after that, she'd have to rest for 3 whole days before she could even try to write again.
3 days. Oh my goodness, that must have taken forever to finish that manuscript.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it really shows you how dedicated she was to getting this message out there. I mean, imagine the willpower that took.
Seriously,
Yeah.
1 page every 3 days. It's almost impossible to imagine. But, we still have that big question from last time, right? Was the stroke just a random medical thing, or was it somehow tied to the vision and that malevolent force we were talking about?
Right, right. So this is where things get, well, even more interesting, I guess you could say, because later on, Ellen White actually had another vision.
Another vision.
Yeah. And this time, it showed her that the stroke she had back in Jackson, Michigan, it wasn't random at all.
So what was it then?
It was a straight-up attack.
An attack. From who?
Satan.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying that the devil himself intervened to stop her from writing this book?
That's exactly what the vision revealed. He wanted to silence her, to keep her from sharing this whole message of the great controversy with the world.
I have to admit, that is a little creepy, thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was it about the vision that was so threatening to, the forces of darkness, I guess?
Well, that's where we really get into the core of the great controversy, right? Because this vision, it didn't just hint at this battle between good and evil. It showed it, like in full color. It laid bare Satan's whole rebellion against God, his constant attempts to trick humanity, and ultimately it showed the triumph of good over evil.
So it's not just some abstract theological debate.
Right.
It's a real battle happening right now with some pretty huge consequences.
Exactly. It's a constant struggle. And Ellen G. White, through her vision, she basically became like the chronicler of this whole cosmic drama. She revealed the players, the strategies, the hope of victory, and the great controversy, the book, it brings all of that to life.
Okay, that makes sense. So she wrote the book, she shared the vision, but what did it mean for the Seventh-day Adventist Church? Like, how did this vision actually shape their beliefs? And, even more importantly, why should we care today? What makes this relevant to us now?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And honestly, that's something we're going to dive into in detail in the final part of our deep dive. We'll uncover how Ellen G. White's great controversy vision lives on today and what it means for all of us.
It's crazy, right? We started with a baby's funeral in Ohio, and now we're talking about cosmic battles and the devil trying to, like, literally silence someone.
It just shows you, that even when things are really rough, when there's sorrow and hardship, there can still be a bigger purpose at work.
Absolutely. And now we get to the good part, right? Like, what's the legacy of this whole great controversy vision? Why does it matter, not just for Seventh-day Adventists, but for everyone, even now?
That is the question, isn't it?
So we've been talking about this great controversy, this cosmic battle, as this real thing, something that's happening all the time. But how did this vision specifically change how Seventh-day Adventists see the world?
Okay, so imagine this. This vision, it's like they got this special lens, right? And through this lens, they could suddenly see history, prophecy, even just like everyday choices in this whole new light. It's like it gave them this framework for understanding like the bigger picture, the forces at work, both inside us and out in the world.
So it's not just angels and demons fighting it out somewhere far away.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we're all part of this story and the choices we make actually matter.
Exactly. We're not just watching this cosmic drama, we're in it. And every decision we make, even the small ones, they can tip the scales. They have an impact.
That's a pretty intense thought. It really makes you think twice about, like, what you do every day.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this vision play out in the everyday lives of Seventh-day Adventists? What does it look like practically?
Well, a big part of it is this focus on being on the side of good. It influences a lot of aspects of their faith. For example, they really emphasize health and taking care of yourself.
Right, I've heard about that.
Yeah, and it comes from this idea that your body is like a temple for the Holy Spirit, so you got to treat it right.
Makes sense. It's like making choices that reflect a higher purpose, both physically and spiritually.
Exactly. And the way they see prophecy, particularly the book of Revelation, it's also super influenced by this vision. They see what's happening in the world today as part of this ongoing great controversy.
So, okay, what about the rest of us? Like, what if you're not a Seventh-day Adventist? Why should this vision and all its legacy matter to us?
I think the really cool thing about the Great Controversy is that even if you don't follow a specific religion, the main ideas, they still hit home. I mean, we all struggle with good versus evil, right? We all face tough choices, and we all want a better world.
Yeah, it's like that age-old battle, good versus evil. It's a story that's been told forever, in every culture, through myths, books, movies.
It's a timeless story. And Ellen G. White's vision, it gives us this really unique and interesting perspective on it. It basically asks us, what side are you on? Are we helping the good guys, or are we even accidentally supporting the bad guys?
It's a question we all need to ask, no matter who we are or what we believe.
It's a call to action, to really think about our choices and try to make a positive impact on the world.
It's a good reminder that we're not alone in this, right? There are forces working for good, even when we can't see them. And in the end, good will win.
That's the message of hope, right? Even when things are tough, even when the odds seem stacked against us, there's still hope. And we can choose to fight for what's right, to stand up for truth and justice, and actually make a difference.
I think that's something people really need to hear today. There's so much going on in the world, so much uncertainty, so much bad news. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, like nothing we do matters.
But this vision, it reminds us that we have the power to choose, to align ourselves with the forces of good and work for a better future. We're not just like pawns in some game.
That is a powerful message. Well, this has been an incredible journey. We've explored history, faith, and the power of ideas. It's amazing how a vision from over a century ago can still be so relevant to us today.
It just goes to show you how strong the truth is and how much we all crave meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that we all have a part to play in this huge cosmic drama of good versus evil.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Ellen G. White's Great Controversy vision. We hope it's inspired you to look deeper, think about your own choices, and, maybe even see your own place in this grand story. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.